We're a group of Gen Xers learning about our ADHD and neurodiversity later in life. Join us as we discuss interesting clips we find online and how they relate to our own life experiences. Welcome to This Is How My Brain Works.
All right, welcome to This Is How My Brain Works. And this is my time to share. So I'm going to come over here and share my screen. Oh, hold on, let me open it. So this is something that I feel all the time. So we'll see what you guys think.
Very interesting observation I've made as a therapist for ADHD with ADHD is that people with ADHD always feel like they have so much to do. They have such a huge to-do list. They have so much to do. It is so overwhelming. I can't possibly do it all. But like neurotypical people don't see life that way. They don't see that they have so much to do. They just plunk away. And so that I think relates to a couple different things. One, time blindness, like the joke is like people with ADHD see time as like now and not now. So if everything feels important, it's all now, and that feels like a lot. That's a big to-do list. But if you have a different approach of more flexible thinking, it's like, oh yeah, I'm only one person. I only have two hands. I can only do one thing at a time. So what are the couple things I need to get done today? And then you would chip away at it, realizing it's never going to end. This is not a to-do list you need to get done. And the other part of it is perfectionism. We're trying to do everything to too high of a level.
Okay.
Can't relate. Just kidding. Krista, whoa.
See, this is going to happen. I can't hear you right now. There we go.
Are we gonna, do you want to say what inspired you to choose that one today? I mean,
that's me. I feel like I have a to-do list that I can never, ever, 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 ever complete, get on top of. I think that if you went out into the world and said, tell me a little bit about Krista Gano, that everybody would go, she's so busy.
You know who else? What made me, I thought immediately of Prince Humperdinch. I have Florence to frame for it. I'm swamped. I can't possibly.
I'm swamped.
And I was looking for that quote because it's literally one of my favorite ones. But...
So I do want to say, let me find her, that this is ADHD with Jenna Free, and she's on Instagram. So it's ADHD with Jenna Free, and she's a therapist who has ADHD, who specializes.
How do you spell free?
Free, like free. Like
okay.
I'm free.
Sometimes they put an H at the end of that name.
Yeah,
that
just free.
Okay.
ADHD with Jenna Free.
I like before this podcast, I'm trying to coordinate things with my family, and my son's out of school, and I'm just like, oh my God, I have so much to do. It's insane. Like, look at this house, look at these things. Like, I can't get to it all. And and I've been trying to reframe that because I am an older dad and I've got a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old. It's like, let's make sure to be present to their lives and like enjoy every moment you can, and not think about, well, what is it that I need to be doing? And it takes effort to not think about the things that I should be doing. And it also is really, really hard to have patience and just kind of accept the fact that things do take time and will eventually happen over time, because I just want things to be checked off the list so quickly. And my to-do lists are always way too ambitious, never get through them. And then so I think that perpetuates this feeling of never finishing things.
But isn't there also just, I think there's this false idea that you can have the list complete.
Right.
Maybe that came from being, when you're kids, your lists were like, I've got to do biology homework and math homework. And so then you'd be like, check. And then, but now I feel like a lack of satisfaction of having a list that's complete, because they are never complete.
Never.
You know what I do?
I'll go through my files and stuff, and I'll see 2 or 3 just super deep, like the to-do lists. I'm like, I wonder how much of this did I complete? Even if I find out a week or 2 weeks later, are there still things on there that I haven't completed yet? And for some reason, they don't have the level of like, maybe urgency or importance as they once did. Like at the time when I'm making the list, everything seems very urgent.
I put stuff on my list that I've already done so I can cross it off.
I've started doing that.
And I also have found that often if I make a list of things that I don't want to do, that's the surest way that I will not do them. And lastly, while I did think of Prince Humperdinck for this, I realized that while maybe I used to be this way, I have actively, intentionally decided to relax and not be that type A. So the minute that I think that I'm so busy, I have all these things to do, I think I'm going to take a break. I'll write them down and do them tomorrow. And I say I don't do the things on my list. I mostly do, but sometimes I don't. But I had to let go of that. And then I recently ran across someone talking about, I think this is particularly relevant for stay-at-home parents, where we work in the home and people don't really notice it. And one way we give ourselves value is by being busy. Look at all these demands upon me. I must be important.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that in myself, I said, you know what? I'm important whether or not I'm doing these things. So you know how much I love watching you work, but I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and dildo to frame for it. I'm swamped. I don't do that anymore because I don't want to be Prince Humperdinck.
Because the response to that line isn't it like, if you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I thought that was from Buck Rogers. Um,
Thanks, Judy. You're cute.
I don't know if this is going to sound like an excuse, which I just wrote a line in a script about this. Because I essentially run like 5 different businesses,
You
my
are
life
really
is
good.
so segmented that I feel like, like, because I have my daily planner, my list my to-dos for the week, it's like segmented by company. And um and so I don't know, I probably need to quit something. But
Are you happy? Are you, do you,
well, it makes it right now it's necessary with the certain things that I'm doing, but eventually they will converge. But right now things are segmented. And but if my brain, like, and here's the truth. What I'm learning about, when we started this group, and I do think I'm on spectrum, but when we started this group, I was like, I don't have ADHD. And I've learned so much about the way ADHD shows up in women differently. Now I'm pretty convinced I do. And part of my flavor of this world, I think, is that my brain likes to be chewing on at least 2 different problems at all times, which is why I like to have the TV on while I'm working, which is why I cannot watch TV without doing something with my hands, whether it's drawing, writing, crocheting, which is why if I'm working on a problem for one company, I need to be working on the other company to actually solve that problem. My brain needs, my processing speed needs 2 things,
So is it
or
because
else I want to like stab myself in the eyes.
you're processing so quickly that just one thing is boring? Or
or is it for like the Newton thing where you have to, you squeeze that one and then you go over to here. So that allows that to open and then the answer happens.
Bing, 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 bing. Yeah. It's
I
like,
have
I can feel it almost processing. And it's like, if I'm starting to like get stuck, I'm like, okay, flip over, flip over,
You-
flip over.
Okay, I have a suggestion for you.
Oh,
Do you
tell me.
ever, when you go to bed, think about the problem and then say, I'm going to give this over to my brain to solve.
All the time.
And
all
then
the
you
time.
wake up and the answer is there. Yeah.
I do it in the shower too. And and everyone will goes, like, because a lot of folks, and I don't know how you guys are, but have trouble sleeping. Like my husband, who's flat out ADHD, trouble sleeping. Not me. I can turn that sucker off in 2 seconds, but I dream like a crazy person. Like my dreams are like in color, they've got unicorns, they've got, I had a dream that a really hot guy was like blow drying my hair the other night. I don't know what
that
that was
dream.
about, but we had a great talk. He was just blow drying my hair. Just falling color.
As he was
Was
giving
it the Wednesday?
he's blow drying your hair as he was giving you the solution to the problem that you had.
That's right.
Oh, I love that.
So, but then I'm a very early riser. So I just saw something about that the optimal time for most ADHDers is actually,
5.
it's not 5 a.m. It's something like 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
I saw that. That's what I was,
most-
that's what I was
right?
trying.
Yeah. Oh, I am not that. I am up at 4 and then shutting that shit down by 3 p.m.
I was thinking by 10 a.m., but okay. You've got a little longer. Rudy, you're so quiet.
I'm
You're
just absorbing.
I know it's amazing that you're.
But you know, the only thing it makes me think of is my wife was out of town. I knew when she was coming back. I created a long list of stuff for myself to do. Like clean all, I had to do, like, she left me a list. She was gone for 2 weeks and left me a list, like, take those books, take them either to the Park Hill Library or take them to the thing. Well, Saturday comes, I'm picking her up Saturday night. I get up Saturday morning, I'm like, I'm not going to work. I'm
doing everything.
I got 12 hours. Right? I got 12 hours.
Cannonball.
That's Rudy. I knew you would come through with a good
But it
example.
took, so then it's 7 a.m. So then it's 11 a.m. and I haven't done anything. And finally, what I found, and this is the interesting thing, I have been there's an adult on my shoulder. There's somebody there coaching me. And it is, and this is exactly how it happened that day when I felt like I was overwhelmed and I had too many things to do because I had left them to the last minute. Basically it was like, look, start upstairs. Just start upstairs. Start with this room. Let's, clean that room. And then I want you to do the bathroom. And then I want you to do the next room. And let's do that first before you do anything else. Don't go outside and, look at your golf clubs. Don't go, walking the dogs. Just
Don't look at anything else.
And get it done. And then I will reward you after that. Basically, that's what and I found myself in a lot of situations when I feel overwhelmed. This rational coach, being my other self, has been telling me, like, calm down, take a moment, just finish this, or don't worry, you don't have to finish this today, or, don't forget you've completed a couple things, like helping me along. And I told my wife last night, I'm like, you weren't here, and I felt over. And the funny thing is, I come home every day, and it's like I tell her how busy I was and how much stuff and how much stuff I still have to do. And she's like, do you want to go on a walk? I'm like, no, I got a shower. I still haven't done my laundry. Like, I don't know what we're doing for dinner. My room's a mess. I got to clean the car. Like, I'm always creating a list of things for no reason. Like, it's just like you were talking about, like, just because we want to look busy, like we're important. Maybe that's it. But what I've been doing with my lists and things, she's been providing me lists because she knows that I need to, she can't just tell me to do something. I need something on a to-do list that I'm looking at. And whether or not I get to it, because I'm a people pleaser, I want to complete most of that list for her and for me, just because I've accomplished something. But a therapist told me once, don't look at a list like you got 10 things to do today. Pick 2 things, maybe 3 things, maybe just 1 thing, and complete it. And you'll feel so much better. And you
Then
can.
the list is incomplete.
I can't complete a list. I know it's incomplete, but
that's why this new planner
for
that I
someone
got,
who, it's
so
just difficult
good.
for someone who doesn't go through it all the time.
Need that planner.
Because Well, this planner is it just has the to-do list, but then it does have your top 3 priorities. That has helped me because then it has made me feel exactly what you're talking about, where you're like, I can have the flowing list of one that's going to flow and go over. But if I can do the 3 things at the top, at least I feel like that was a part of the list because I've got that completion anxiety the same way my kid has. Like, I'm like, but I can't, it's so stressful to me that it's never complete. It's just,
Hey,
I
Rudy, I have
want
a
to, I
question
want to
that
go on a
Well, and then someone
cruise.
who's a perfectionist, and again, I
Oh,
equate it to the
yeah,
golf
and
course,
there's that, and there's
you
that.
create more jobs for yourself because
Yeah.
you're a perfectionist, because it doesn't look right. So you do things that
Yeah.
don't need to be done just to try and like make it look better or whatever. And the other thing is sometimes we try and find shortcuts to get something done quicker when we know that that shortcut will only make more work for us in the end because we're not completing it in a proper way, right? We're trying to take a shortcut just to complete it so we can scratch it off the list when we know that, you know, down the road it's going to be messed up, instead of
Oh,
just fixing it right then and there.
if you
Sarah, what
don't
was
have time to do it right, you must have time to do it again.
Sarah, what was your
Rudy,
question for Rudy?
thank you, Michael. It's like a burning question. How long has this adult been on your shoulder? When did you find this adult to tell you to help you with your overwhelm? How did that develop? Do you think that that's your therapist's voice?
I was
I,
thinking it was hyper focus, but
I don't know. I'm just really curious, like, because it sounds like a hack that could be effective for so many people, but how did it
How
come
did I
about?
access it?
Yeah, has it always been there? Do you remember it from when you were a kid? Is it when you started taking meds? Yeah, I'm so
I
curious.
don't, you know what? I don't think so. I think there's been this undercurrent with me. An undercurrent of unfinished stuff.
Mhm.
And it's been my entire life, I feel like.
Yes.
Not that this person's been on my shoulder the entire time, but there's been this undercurrent within myself that I haven't been good enough, that I haven't accessed my full potential, that I could have done X, Y, and Z, but I never pursued it.
I hear
And then
that.
I happened to wind up in a restaurant for 30 years when it took a, I feel like now I've got a new start because I don't know what that was in the last 30 years of my life. Like, I wound up in a situation, but it was never really for me. I learned a lot. I love the restaurant business. I mean, yada, yada, yada. However, there's been this undercurrent like, I know you want to do more. What are your passions? You're middle aged now, your kids are grown, what do you want? And I think this coach, I'll just call him a coach, and I think it's a him because it's me, I think. Um, it is I don't know when I found it, but it's pretty recently, Sarah. I mean, it's pretty recently where I'm he is showing up more and more to just push me along
Did he exist before
and to
meds?
calm me down. It's crazy.
Did he
It,
exist before meds or your therapist? Like what it
I think it
sounds.
was before. I think it was before. There have, he's always climbed up, but it's not as prevalent that it is now. And I think the reason being is I want to go a different direction. I have a lot of addictions. I've been chewing Nicorette gum for 22 years. I have the ability to overcome that. Do I really need the gum? Is it now just a habit? Like, I want some control over this brain. I want a little more control. And I'm trying to figure out, am I drinking too much coffee? I mean, I've got a lot of chemicals going into my body, like, and what's nicotine doing to me? So if it were me, I'd go right now and I'd go to Walgreens and pick up, some nicotine gum. But I have this person on my shoulder saying, okay, look, you got to go day by day. And, do you really need it or do you want it? You don't really need it. I think, now it's just a habit. You just want it. And he's preventing me from just going to Walgreens and picking it up.
My therapist would call it your wise self.
It's
Mhm.
my wise self. And I've always had this wise self,
Well,
but
I'm
I've
wondering,
never been at an age where I could accept that. Like I could, okay. And like
Okay.
listen to what he was saying.
it's possible because like the reason he's talking to you more and more, you're starting to develop those trust in the wise self more and more. Your life isn't being dictated by your protectors and the fear, the fear as much. Like you're starting to trust yourself more, which is a beautiful thing. Um,
And maybe the feedback loop is reinforcing it, the positive feedback loop of when you listen, you're getting a good result.
yes,
I think that's
exactly.
where we're going.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it was really that day I had to clean the house. That is really, I just, he really took hold. I mean, he really took hold. And I don't know that I would have been able to get through a couple of moments, honestly, if he wasn't like, just do this first, take care of these two things, and then you can go make yourself a sandwich or, whatever it was. Because I kept finding myself distracted by other things. And I'd have to say, what am I doing? What am I doing? I told myself, we discussed this, that I need to finish the first 3 rooms upstairs. And then, so we've made a plan. You got to go with that plan right now. Just take care of this. And if you take care of it, it's not going to take the whole day. It'll take you 30 minutes if you focus and you progress through it. And I'm just leaning on him a little more in situations where I feel overwhelmed, where my to-do list is like, where do I even start? And I find that he's just saying, just start here, complete this, and move to the next. This is how you do it. When we talk about having difficulty when presented with a project, that our brains are like, where do I even start? There's so much to do. So much to do. Where do I start? We're already thinking about the finished product before we've even put one nail in the ground, and because we want to go so quickly and our brains are going and we've got ideas and things are happening instead. And I've had a difficulty just making a plan. Michael, we've all talked about this, where you're presented with something and you're like, your brain just like freaks out. Well, this coach is like, here, just start here. We'll get to the rest of the stuff. Just here's where you start. Just go like this. And it's like going to the gym and having a spotter, basically. It's like someone who's there watching you and like, okay, we're going to do 10 reps. Let's go. Give me one more. Give me one more. You can do it. And it's uplifting. It really is.
Oppositionally defiant like I am.
But I have
Michael?
been. I haven't listened to him like I have over the last year or two. I haven't. I've been that defiant person who's like, you know what? I need the gum. I got to chew on something. What am I going to do? And Trident doesn't do it for me. And I don't want to chew on straws or like
on your other shoulder.
Yeah. Well,
That's
he's not. That other person's waning.
Krista,
I
what
think
was
he's climbing down my back, and he's just gonna kind of move away. I hope, because there's a lot of things I want to change in my life. Just things I know that I can overcome, or I want to achieve, and I think as we get older, we're like, it's about time. We're more comfortable with ourselves, and there's things we want to, see in ourselves, and we're not as we're not as focused on our kids. We're still very focused on our kids, don't get me wrong, but they're in some good places right now, and you can relax a little bit. And then it's sort of a look at your own self, like, okay, they're okay right now. All the sacrifices that I've made, all the missteps maybe that I've made, or like, what do I want to do with myself right now? what are some of the things that I want to do? And some are big things like quitting, like it's like quitting smoking. It's exactly like quitting smoking, chewing the gum. It's nicotine. I don't smoke, but I've been chewing the gum. I never smoked. I've always had an oral fixation. So it's just something that,
Which is stemming, which was one of the videos I didn't bring in. It's like it's stemming. We think about that with autism, whatever. We don't think about it with ADHD, but they're the things like my foot going all the time, the chewing on the pen till it's destroyed, the chewing, all of that stuff is stemming, just like an autism,
What is the definition of stemming?
Stemming is something that you do to sort of
Stimulate.
to stimulate or just like offload some of something off your brain, right? So
It comes from
for-
stimulate, I think.
yeah,
You're
uh,
stimulated,
sure.
so you're
Stimming.
like
you're
stemming.
trying to get
Yes,
your
no, yes, STIMMING is stemming.
yeah.
That
So
makes-
it's basically you've got so much
Yep.
energy. It's to get it out.
I can relate to that
So
hugely.
you think about autistic kids stimming all the time because those are the kids who are like rocking and so that's what we've thought about in the past, but truly any of that you're using sort of something to stimulate or something to offload some energy or whatever, chewing pens, sucking on shirts when kids are young, we do I rock all the time and it came from when I was pregnant and then had babies, but it's never really gone away. So those are all of those things are stemming, and we've got to go now. We got to wrap this sucker up.
Wrap the sucker up. So Krista, you brought in a great
Yep.
one. Obviously, let us all wallow in the to-do
Wallow in our to-do lists.
vortex. Yeah.
Well,
Great
thank you.
tools.
And hey, maybe Krista, if we could put a link to that really awesome planner that you have into the show notes.
Oh, I just got it at Target, so I don't know if there's really a link to it.
Okay.
But I mean, just
happened.
in terms
Yeah.
of or maybe a screenshot of it, because the way that
Yeah.
it's down seemed pretty helpful.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish we could have gotten to how you got so in touch with your better self, Rudy, because I know that for me, I would like to know how you did that. So I can
yeah, we'll have to do that another time.
No, I didn't mean
Started listening to them.
Sarah is the queen of it. I'm going to drop one more thing that we all need to talk about right at the very end. Okay, you guys. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining us for This Is How My Brain Works.
If you like this episode of This Is How My Brain Works, please like, subscribe, and share. For more info on today's clip, the hosts, and our podcast, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening.